Because they're trying to save themselves. You don't understand. They have to save themselves. Guys, look, most ethical democracy. So, I have to flatten Gaza. You don't understand. No, we need that land.
Of course,
smoking crack. You are smoking crack.
Allegedly the Soros gang. Whatever
Source,
it is,
my crack pipe.
There's a very...
Dude, what is going on? Wait, why is she crying? Wait. What is happening?
Yes.
I love Jews so much. And they've got it so hard in America. Jews are just so awesome. And it's just so difficult being a Jew in America. Dude, they're trying to make me a Hassan fan. They're trying to make me side with Hassan. Everyone's in a conspiracy to make me side with Hassan. They're trying to brainwash me. Yeah, let's get into this anyway. So I think that's what they're talking about in this. Brianna Wu's on this show. JNSTV. I believe it stands for Jewish Neurosis Symptoms. I know, Jewish News Syndicate, sorry. So she's in Israel right now. Brianna Wu's in Israel right now. And she was... What was she saying about the airport? Where's the airport tweet? She was like saying how hard it is for Jews in America because you have to walk 15 minutes to the Israel gate in the airport. Like, it was... Someone sent me the airport tweet. Where is it? Where is it? Yeah, she's aspirationally Jewish. You ever wish there was a cabal so you know that someone high up knows who is and how pathetic she is? Yeah, I do wish there was a Jewish cabal a lot of the time, actually. Pretty much every time Trump is able to make any decision about what to do in government, I'm wishing there was a Jewish deep state cabal. Fun fact, they isolate flights to Israel by putting them at the other side of the Munich airport. It was a 15-minute walk. Then you go through a second security screening. And that's before you land and go through passport screening.
All the way through. All right, I have to show you this security situation to actually get into Israel. So, first of all, I've landed in Germany. I had to walk all the way across the entire airport, like all the way through all the shops, everything. There's no flights, there's nothing. Just literally to the other side of the airport to get to this. And you can see right here, I've got to go through another thing of security right now, which is crazy because then I'm going to land in Tel Aviv and then I've got to go through like all the passport stuff and the check on my background. So, you know, it's like
the violence against Jews is getting out of control, guys. It's going crazy.
People should understand
the Munich
like,
pogroms
of
2025
against Israel and the Jews. Of violence against Israel and the Jews, like in the background. So, you know,
guys, you have to walk 15 minutes to the gate. The violence against Jews is out of control.
Like, I think people should understand, like, this state of violence against Israel and the Jews, like, it really has, like, a kind of friction overhead for just getting around. This is just crazy.
It's the show. This is a shower. This is a show. I'm having to walk 15 minutes. This is a shower.
Right, I have to show you.
You know, honestly, I can't. I can't even do the Jew voice. I'm such a fake. I can't do the Jew voice. I can't do the Jew voice. Stylo, where's Stylo? Stylo's a great. Where's the Stylo clip of him coming on doing the Jew voice the other night? Oh, listen, Goy. I can't walk 15 minutes. Listen, Goy. Oh my God.
This week on the quad, guest co-host Brianna Wu, first time in Israel, and our friend Rachel Feldman is back all the way from Vermont, and we will be talking about the cultural decline of America.
Your voice is a Jew voice. Ha 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 ha.
Or just Coachella. Only on JNS, only on the quad. And welcome back, everybody, to the quad after the Pesach holidays, Easter holidays, and today we have a very special show with two guest co-hosts. First of all, my wonderful co-host Shoshana Keats-Jaskal, who is the founder of Chochmat Nashim, elevating Orthodox women's voices and pushing away discrimination in the Orthodox community. and Rachel Feldman, who's been here before. She's an activist and the founder of the Shalom Coalition of Vermont. And our star co-host today, Brianna Wu, for the first time in Israel.
Star.
She is a tech advocate, run for Congress, and today the executive director of Rebellion Pact, trying to put in more progressive voices in American politics. Brianna, welcome.
It's such a pleasure. I'm so glad we could find time for this.
I'm glad you found time for this because I know you have a really jam-packed schedule.
I do.
And we're so blessed that you came on the quad. It's so important.
Are you kidding me? I love y'all. You know, it's such a good show. Emily is amazing. You're amazing.
Thank you, thank you.
Big professional honor for me.
Thank you.
Yes.
But, you know, I want to ask you the first question.
Sure.
You're the executive director of a PAC trying to push in progressive voices.
Yes.
Which are a little bit in conflict with your voice right now. So maybe...
It's like, it just feels so insane to me. It just... Like, how do people not see how insane this sort of stuff is? Like, I don't want to do, like, it's lazy to do, like, Nazi Germany comparisons, so I'll try and veer away from it, but there is a country that is actively continuing a war that, based on, you know, I haven't looked into this crazy hard, but Loner Box was saying the other day, that basically there's been an analysis by like, the US military or something that basically says that they achieved all the military goals they possibly could have in Gaza in the summer, and that this is just, like, gratuity at this point. It's just like they're just pounding them into the fucking dirt. So it's like it's a blatant, like, ethnic cleansing. Okay, don't want to call it a genocide, sure. I'm fine with not calling it a genocide. That's totally reasonable. However, it is an ethnic cleansing. They are trying to remove that ethnic group from that area to take that land because they think Trump will let them do that. That is obviously what is currently going on. Netanyahu is trying to consolidate power in his government. He's firing people, destroying checks and balances, and just powering through this war. And you go on TV in that country to sit there and bemoan American free speech, or someone using American free speech. I guess technically the guys are Irish. But someone using free speech in America to speak out against that. Not even in a directly anti-Semitic way or anything. They said, fuck Israel, free Palestine. And you go on their TV to bemoan that, you know, that statement. To say how terrible it was. Is that not just insane? Like, it just, you're running interference. You're like, you are a, like, propaganda tool, basically. You're the American coming on to say how insane all the anti-Israel Americans are. Reinforcing the pretext. The idea that, oh, all the criticism is just stupid. All these people are just crazy and they're anti-Semites. It's just totally absurd.
Maybe Brianna unpack for us and we can have a conversation of what's actually going on. When was your aha moment? Then your own movement has kind of abandoned its own values.
So it's really difficult, right? I got into progressive politics because of certain policies that I believe in. Things like universal health care, you know, being more thoughtful about the United States and our national security strategy. There are certain policies like women's rights.
Yeah.
I really, really strongly believe in. And I've literally put 11 years of my life into this progressive movement. What I've unfortunately seen over the last 11 years is us taking this playbook, which is kind of wallowing in grievances, moralizing everything in sight, and more recently, this just explosion of anti-Semitism that has happened in the left, which I want to be very clear.
Fuck Israel, free Palestine is a very anti-Semitic statement. So true, so true. Truly, that's going after all Jews, actually.
Is being funded by people outside of the United States to put operatives in the Democratic Party that are advocating these points of views. So I'm just going to be honest with you. It is a crisis of conscience.
Guys, did you know that State of Israel equals all Jews?
Stressful, because I do think some of these policies are correct.
Yeah, they mentioned Coachella in the intro here. Yeah, this is the pretext here is Coachella in the kneecap stuff. So we'll see.
You look at the people actually advocating these things. I don't think there's a future where we win anything.
Well, what was your aha moment before or after October 7th?
After October 7th.
What happened? When was that moment?
So, you know, the thing that really, really woke me up.
Yeah.
Is I'm watching, so I want to just be open with you and say before October 7th, I had supported Israel generally.
Yeah.
Like I grew up, you know, heard about the Second Intifada, watched the peace process fall apart. I supported Israel, but I'd never done a deep dive into your politics.
But why would you? You have enough on your plate.
Right.
You know, not everybody has to be obsessed with Israel.
But you know, there's this progressive storyline going on about Palestine, which I just picked up from everyone else. Free Palestine, they're oppressed. Israel's doing X, Y, Z. You know the song.
We know the drill.
So there's a woman that I went to a feminist conference.
And I figured out that's not true, actually.
A good friend of mine, someone that
the occupied territory where they control all of the utilities that they then started bombing the fuck out of after a terror attack that did justify some securing of security interests, some, you know, military response, did justify some military response. They then used as a pretext to completely flatten the entire place. But no, they're not oppressed at all. They're not oppressed at all.
Considered was a good friend.
It's like blacks in America, you know? They always just pretending they be oppressed and shit. They always be pretending they oppressed.
We'd been on stage together many times advocating about women's sexual violence, which is a real issue. And I saw her denying the sexual violence of October 7th publicly on social media. So I call her up and I'm like, can you square this for me? Like, how do you square this sexual violence that's going on with advocating the sexual violence? And instantly, this friend of like a decade, we're screaming at each other.
Wow.
And
okay, what did you actually say though? Yeah, can I actually see that conversation?
It was the moment that I went like, okay, I'm undereducated on this topic. I have a responsibility to really sit down and start digging through the history here.
Right.
And, you know, everyone says the history is very complicated. I think it's actually simple.
Wow. Please. Please, Brianna. I would love to, I can't wait to hear this. It's actually very simple. It's actually, the history of Israel Palestine is actually very simple. Let's hear it. Let's hear it, Brianna.
Yeah, you've had 6 wars and 6 major conflicts since 1948. Israel has been on the defensive every single time.
Absolutely.
You're trying to save yourselves.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just this.
And that's why you have to keep bombing a place that is already in complete rubble. Like 9 months passed when they said there's no conceivable military objectives that you could achieve there anymore. Because they're trying to save themselves. You don't understand. They have to save themselves.
This, and a wider point than this that I really want to hit is, you know, after October 7th, I really started to think about what my life would be like if the Jews that I knew in America had not been there for me. Like when I was the first student to transition at the University of Mississippi, there's a Jewish administrator that really went to bat for me and helped me out there. Yeah, the surgeon that gave me the health care that literally saved my life, Dr. Jeffrey Spiegel in the United States, he has trained like half of the people in the United States that work in this specialty. And I started like thinking through that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand you're saying that Israel like fired the first shots in '67. Isn't there some? Why do I feel like that's not as simple as that? Isn't there some act that triggered the first shots being fired?
There's a Jew. I was the first student to transition at the University of Mississippi. There's a Jewish administrator that really went to bat for me and helped me out there. Yeah, the surgeon that gave me the health care that literally saved my life, Dr. Jeffrey Spiegel in the United States, he has trained like half of the people in the United States that work in this specialty. And I started like thinking through that and realized how much Jews in America had given me. And
Yeah. So multiple people saying this. I thought it was something like this. So yeah, the Israelis fired first, but they had already mobilized armies and were basically ready to launch. It was like, it wasn't like there was any confusion about what was about to happen.
Felt a responsibility to speak up and to stand with y'all right back. So.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. And that's, I mean, that's the saddest thing, that Jews have always been in the forefront of all the social justice causes. Yeah. And then when it was our turn to get support.
Astonishing.
And I think it's gone two ways. Some Jews have woken up and gone, oh my God,
right,
who's standing with me?
Right.
And other Jews have gone, well, you know, I'm still gonna hate on my own people because that's still the way I'm gonna be accepted.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's so sad.
It's really sad because you've been given a choice. You're either with human rights or you are against human rights.
Right.
Even though we're the ones with the beacon of human rights in this area, in this region, and nothing else. And so what?
So that means we have to flatten Gaza. So guys, look, most ethical democracy. So I have to flatten Gaza. You don't understand. No, we need that land.
Intelligent people like you who are still not being indoctrinated or can step back and say...
This is like an H3 podcast episode.
Okay, something doesn't square up, using your words. And this brings us to what happened in the last week with Coachella.
Running away from pain like the kids from Palestine.
Bombing them from the skies. If you're not calling it a genocide, what the f*** are you calling it? Free, free! Free, free! Free, free!
Right. And with the kind of this, like, it's coming to this cultural clash of what? I mean, is it, you're from Vermont. You're from the most liberal state in the country, right?
It's definitely up there, even though we have a Republican governor, yes.
Oh, you do?
Our legislative bodies, Senate and House, are majority Democrat, and Democrat, progressive have almost been merged into one. And that's
whole
created
country
a
for
really
free?
difficult situation for the Jewish community in Vermont, because so much of the community in Vermont in general is very progressive. The Jewish community, we are involved in every social justice movement because we are everything. We are Black, we are white, we are LGBTQ, we are men, we are women, we are everything. And
I think that's actually people's biggest complaint.
As soon as October 7th happened, all of a sudden, it became very clear that only the Jew is the Jew.
That's right.
And we have had one of our leading organizations, our LGBTQ organizations, Outright Vermont, force Jewish members to resign from the board. So now all the Jewish members are off that board. They allowed, actually invited the Coalition for Palestinian Liberation to lead the Pride Parade. So the Pride Parade was led with Palestinian flags.
If only they could do that.
Did they just force you off for being Jewish? Is that what happened? I would want to know a little bit more about that story, actually. I would like to know a little bit more about that story, as it stands.
But to your point, it's very difficult to have a conversation about it because people just want to scream instead and get very angry.
Yeah. Why are they so entrenched? Shoshana, you're somebody who's dealt with, also you've dealt with...
Guys, why do they care so much?
Guess,
why do they care so
within
much?
the Jewish community, with the ultra-Orthodox,
I can't take it.
etc. How do people
I'm not even like a big pro-Palestine guy. I truly don't give that much of a fuck. It's like, it is like, you know... I think it's bad, obviously, what Israel's doing. I would like to see the international community step in and like actually fucking take control of the situation, which they should have done a fucking long time ago. Obviously. But it's like, man. You sound so deranged. You sound so deranged.
So entrenched
in their ideology.
In their ideology, that you can't even hear something that would normally make sense to a regularly intelligent person.
So that is something that I always say. I'm a fighter of extremes, right? Like, it's not I am a feminist, but I'm not a feminist or a this or a that. I fight extremes because all extremes are bad. And what happens is when some people go this way, other people react by going this way. And I'm just like, yo, there's this whole middle ground that is really where we all need to be. And if we don't populate and hold this middle ground, so we're just falling off the edges and everyone's getting hurt. And so I have noticed within our community, outside the community, in the world, everyone takes a stand and refuses to budge. It's like, you know, I'm going to hold my flag no matter hell or high water.
And they double down.
They triple down. They don't even make, like you said, you don't even make, all of a sudden, your friend of 10 years, you're screaming at. I've never heard such a thing. Why can't you have a conversation? I remember growing up, you know, it didn't matter if you were Republican or Democrat. Like, you sat at the same table, you maybe didn't discuss some politics, but like, it was never like this, where I can't talk to my family, I can't go home for Thanksgiving, I had to cut off members of my family. Whatever the issue is, it seems that people are just incapable of asking questions like you are doing and saying, well, maybe I need to just figure something out. Maybe I need to learn a little bit more. Maybe I need to not just hook, line, and sinker. And that's what I think we see in, like you brought up Coachella, I think that's what we see. It's like groupthink. Yeah. It's a cult. Yeah. And it's like, if you don't follow this, you're out. And people are afraid.
It's part of this progressive playbook, which is not, I got into progressivism for policy, but the modern progressive movement is about moralizing. It moralizes everything in sight. And the story they are telling is very straightforward.
Wow, politics is about morals? Wait, there's a moral element to politics? I understand that there are things that people moralize that they probably shouldn't, like market dynamics. Something will happen in a market that is just the emergence of an obvious reality. Scalping, for instance, gets moralized very hard. There are things people moralize that they shouldn't. Politics is about your morals. You have to have moral positions to have political positions.
You're a bad person if you support Jews in Israel.
Yeah.
Because Jews are bad.
Are oppressing the poor brown Palestinians.
Of course. Yes. And they see everything through the lens of the 1964 civil rights movement.
But don't they see, but isn't that also Marxist in a way?
Of course it is.
It's crazy because this has nothing to do with civil rights.
Right.
They've co-opted
That's right.
a part of history of America, stuck it here, and it's supposed to fit in.
And I really want to stress this. This is a disinformation campaign that's being waged against the United States.
Yeah.
And
to deconstruct within itself.
To do that. There is, within the progressive movement, there is a dark alliance that's been formed with Islamists. Yeah. And I'm not talking about normal Muslims in the United States.
No, of course
I'm talking about this theocratic project to install radical Islam, which, you know, it is increasingly part of the Democratic Party. And I think, in my view, something that's really scary is the lack of moral backbone in the Democratic Party, which, to be clear, cannot be successful at the polls without Jews. We just can't. Go do the math yourself. And we're unwilling to denounce this anti-Semitism, which is increasingly growing a cancer in our party and making us unelectable. So we have a choice. We can either really face up to this stuff, as the Democratic Party just got annihilated and Trump got elected, and we can make a new vision for the party, or we can keep trying to please everyone and go down this route of moralizing everything and insanity. And what is so troubling to me is I see no signs we're going to change course.
This is what I was going to ask you. What do you think the percentages are? Is it now the majority of the Democratic Party that has been hijacked by this ideology?
No.
Where are the regular Democrats like you? And how do you do your work in Rebellion PAC when you've got this crowd to deal with?
Well, Cenk Uygur...
She doesn't do any fucking work. Bro, what do you think she's doing with Rebellion PAC? Bro, when was the last time Rebellion PAC did fucking anything? All she does is go on fucking TV shows.
Is on my board. We do not agree on this. We talk all the time and argue. I think it's productive for us to still be able to be friends, even though we disagree on Israel so strongly. I think that has a lot of value, being able to continue those friendships. It's a struggle sometimes because I see him. He's had fights with Emily, and I'm like, we're on Emily's side. So, but I think that the answer is we've got to look in the Democratic Party. We've got to cut this off. We've got to move.
Over 73% of Democrats think Israel is committing a genocide, and that's polling from like 4 months ago.
Forward, we've got to wake people
I
up.
haven't seen that,
truth
so I'm
is
not
we
sure
have
about
a very
the
small
validity of that,
contingent
but
of
sure.
bullies.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's over 50%, at least.
That
Who make a lot of noise.
Who make a lot of noise, and they're funded. They're funded out. Look into the people, these Islamist advocates in the progressive movement.
Yeah.
Look at who's funding them.
Dude. How can you say this? How can you say this? How can you say this? You're on Israeli TV talking about how American politicians are funded by what? Hamas?
Yeah.
These are these are very powerful operatives in our party. They're setting a narrative. We've got to be willing to push back on that.
Are you going to name names?
No.
No, but we know that Qatar is funding.
Of course.
Smoking crack. You are smoking crack.
Allegedly the Soros gang. Whatever
Sauce,
it is.
my crack pipe.
There's a very, very dubious money trail to a society that wants America to deconstruct. They know it's not going to happen militarily because America's too strong.
Right.
And so they need to sow these divisions. They need to go into academia. They need to poison people's minds because that's the only way they're going to do it.
Wait, they're crying about Soros?
Maybe allegedly the Soros gang. Whatever it is.
Oh, what? What? The know you anti-Semitic Soros conspiracy theory on Palestine? Huh? What is going on?
There's a very, very dubious money trail to a society that wants America to deconstruct. They know it's not going to happen militarily because America's too strong.
Was that a dog whistle?
And so they need to sow these divisions. They need to go into academia. They need to poison people's minds because that's the only way they're going to do it. And these people are willing fools that are going along with it. But why is this Jew hatred still so... It's just, you know, I think that most American Jews that I know are shocked. I'm European.
Yeah.
So I'm not shocked by anti-Semitism. There's always a
around every corner.
No, there was always kind of a layer. But my American friends are shocked.
Yes.
Because being American and being Jewish was never a contradiction. There was never tension.
Right.
In Europe, there was always a bit of tension.
Right.
And they woke up one day and they're like, damn, what happened?
The Golden Diaspora disappeared.
The Golden Diaspora disappeared. And you know where else that happened?
Okay, in fairness, my understanding is there is a little bit of there is some basis to the idea that money changes hands to support like pro-Palestine stuff in universities. However, it's just totally absurd to like bring it up as like this huge point when there is such an insane backing financially for so much pro-Israel stuff. It's like, yeah, you're crying about this. About what? Qatari money. How much Qatari money is being spent on Palestine protests? Can we get like, can someone do a bar chart for me on this? Let's stack these up next to each other.
Happened Germany in the 1930s, where the Jews were similarly comfortable and integrated and assimilated and everything.
But it wasn't just being comfortable. As an American, it was called the Golden
Okay, guys,
Movement,
listen. Okay. I can do all the anti-Semitic jokes because everyone knows I don't mean it, but some of you guys are not known to be Jews, so you can't do the anti-Semitic jokes because people might think you mean it. So let's calm down there,
because
okay?
it was, you know, an opportunity to rebuild yourself, but because religious freedom was built into America. So you have to remember, like, America was built on the concept of religious freedom, and everyone had their God. And for Jews...
Stylo, you're Jewish, okay?
That's amazing, right? Like, okay, I can worship my God, I can be who I am, and that's part of the American dream. Yeah. So it is shocking for Americans to find anti-Semitism around every corner, and not
there's a difference.
No, it's not the Ku Klux Klan. Okay, we know about them, right? Like, it's all of a sudden this progressive concept of well, we're anti-Zionist, but not anti-Semitism.
The mosques.
Or, well, you know, and it's like being hidden. And then it's also, like you said, taking the values that you have always believed in and stood for, and twisting them and saying, if you want to take these values, you have to be free Palestine over here. You cannot be here. You have to be here.
Intersectionality,
I should say here on the left.
Yeah. Intersectionality? What is
Yeah, because it's the whole concept is anyone who's oppressed anywhere in any way is all the same. And in order to free anyone anywhere who's any way oppressed, according to my definitions of oppressed, of course, then you have to buy that whole package. Right. And Jews can't buy that whole package because Jews are the...
Okay. By what definition are Palestinians not oppressed? Okay, please, can someone give me a definition of oppression that does not apply to Palestinians? Like, what? They're literally having, like, land settled in the West Bank just slowly pushed out. Even if you ignore Gaza, like, that. Like, say you want to say, well, it's Hamas are there, we can do whatever we want to Gaza. What'd you say about the West Bank? What about the West Bank?
The oppressors in that package. So we are left out.
Yeah. Yep. It has been a long-running linguistic war and ideological war that's been going on for 20 plus years, starting in academia, so that now the people who are our leaders in politics, in law, in education, in medicine, they have all received this indoctrination and training, and it is now showing up in curricula in our K through 12 schools. But because in America, as you said, Shoshana, we were trained very much to recognize, like, well, the German shalom, that's anti-Semitism. Right. Someone gives a Heil Hitler.
Dude, none of my opinions on this have changed. Literally, my opinion on this has not changed. I was on the Israel shit when it was first happening, and there was a lot of arguments about it. I would defend the idea that, yes, Israel have some legitimate military interest in going into Palestine, but response should be proportional and seeking to achieve military goals. Not be just bombing the fuck out of stuff to make way for your own people to move in later. Obviously, that shouldn't happen. My opinion hasn't changed. We're just way past the point where it's reasonable. And there are still people defending it and saying insane stuff to... I mean, I don't know how to describe it other than basically manufactured consent, right? That is...
Swastika, that's anti-Semitism. Right. But anti-Semitism has emerged very strongly on the left. And because of this baked-in ideology, we now have about 20 years worth of people who all believe that Israel is a white colonial oppressor state, that there is an occupation.
Yeah, and obviously no one reasonable has ever defended the West Bank stuff at any point.
And have been eating up a narrative that is not true. And all without ever coming to this region of the world.
I think even Ethan said before October 7th, there's like a 2021 tweet or some shit where he says West Bank settlers are valid military targets, right?
And not doing the research that, Brianna, I'm so grateful that you do and that others do. Right. Because it does involve looking into. But people don't want to do
more than that, because it's really important to recognize exactly how many angles this is coming from. It's not just that they're into the narrative of Israel being the oppressor and the white, it's also that we can't be victims in any way, meaning we cannot be suffering. Right. Exactly. We cannot be suffering at the same time. So while Palestinians are given, well, if I was a
dude, the fighting from both sides over Hila's military service is so dumb. Someone got anal with me because I said she raided a house. She did, because she didn't technically herself raid the house. She went on a ride along, got out of the car, walked up to the house, and the other soldiers went in. No, in the clip, she doesn't say she went in. She said she left the car, but she doesn't say she went in. But they did raid a house. She was with a raid on a house in the West Bank. Like, that... I don't feel like saying she didn't raid a house. That's not really addressing the point, is it? She voluntarily went on that raid.
Palestinian, I would be a terrorist. How many people have said that? Or if I completely understand why they lost it on October 7th. But nobody says that about Jews. I understand why the Jews lost it because of what they went through. That doesn't exist. And so you have a real double standard when it comes to Jewish people and their responses, their reactions, the way they're allowed to react to their trauma versus Palestinians and how they're allowed to react to their trauma. We don't even get trauma. We are, oh, here you're crying tears again. It's like, I feel like it's a whack-a-mole situation where we are constantly defending ourselves against the next, blood libel and incapable of mourning our dead or being victims. It's a terrible situation that I will say one more time that if I wasn't raised by survivor grandparents and I wasn't told as a child, as a Jewish child, B'chol dover dor, like we said in Passover, every generation they arise to kill you. But I wasn't understanding that
this show big in Israel. I've actually got no idea. It's got 5,500 views on YouTube, but I don't know if it's on television. It's got Jewish News Syndicate. I don't know if it's on Israeli TV or something, so I've got no idea. Or if it's on other platforms.
Part of the Jewish story, I would be extremely depressed, and I might I would convert. It's a terrible place to be. It's a very sad place to be, and I thank you for your allyship.
No, you don't have to thank me. It's literally, y'all have done so much stuff for me. You literally saved my life. But I want to tell, if I could just have a minute to tell a quick story about coming here. So I was having meetings in Boston before I left, and talking to Jewish groups and people like that is part of my job now. I don't get paid for it. It's just something I try to do. And I'm sitting there before I fly out here. I'm meeting with a bunch of Jewish groups, and all of them were telling me the same story, right? It's like, I'm afraid to speak up at work. I don't feel understood within the party. I feel like my whole country is against me. Every American Jew is telling me a story over and over. So I'm flying here. And I start realizing all these things about just getting to Israel that I've never seen before, like filling out stuff for a deep background.
Okay, what? Yeah, it's not a response. You're saying she's conscripted. Saying she was conscripted wasn't a response. That's not responding to it at all. She was conscripted, and she was a secretary. She volunteered to attend a raid. That's not That's not relevant to being conscripted. That's a choice. That is, you decided to do that.
Check on me, going to flying through Munich and having to walk all the way through the airport to this super isolated part and go through another security. So it's just it's Jews and woos. Jews and woos on the side of the airport.
In Germany, it's ridiculous. It's so true.
Just to isolate. So I'm going through all this. So it's other. And then I get to the Sheraton here, and I look out the window. I open up the window and I look out at the beach. It's just nothing but Jewish people.
Nice try, user. Nice try, buddy.
Going through a run, exercising. It's like, this is a time y'all can be together and really experience that. It's really magical for me as a non-Jew to see just this joy that's there in the air.
Well, that's all we want to do is live in peace. That's all we want. Leave us alone. We have one country. One country.
And it's really small.
But this is not, Americans are not hearing this story. And there's got to, just something I have to say, there has to be a generational effort to educate millennials and Gen Z on this.
Yeah.
And respectfully to the Jewish organizations in the United States, I do not see a plan to tell people about this. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. We saw the Second Intifada on television every single night. There was just a baked-in response. I could watch Kylie Minogue videos in the 90s, and someone would be the star of David. It was just
we all loved Israel back then. When we didn't think about any of it. We all just loved Israel. When we never had to think about any of this pesky Palestinian stuff. Dude.
100% gone.
Wow.
And until there's a structural effort with millions of dollars put into it to push back on this, forgive my language, but bullshit.
Yeah.
It's not going to get better.
And where do you see your work going forward now? Are you trying to educate the moron progressives? I mean, what are you doing with these people as part of your pack?
I am trying to, and this is something Cenk and I talk a lot about, is it's we're not going to agree on Israel, but we can focus on other policy things that we do agree on. I, in my personal role, am doing everything I can in the Democratic Party to show the polling numbers we have and be look, here's our funders, here's our voters, here's the districts we have to win in, here's the percentage. Do you see this number going down? Do you see
and it's
this
because
number
of the
going
Jewish
down?
vote?
The Jewish vote.
The Jews vote.
Jews really vote.
Snow for you. Go watch the clip. You're arguing and you don't know the details. It's very clear. She wasn't pushed to participate. You're smoking crack. You're just trying to come up with ways to defend this shit because you are sucking off Ethan and Hila. Because you've been fucking wired over the last year to defend everything. She wanted, decided, chose to go on a raid of a house in Ramallah. She said, one time I got out of the car. It wasn't just in the car either.
And 50% of the donations of the Democratic Party are for.
We'll play the clip. We'll just watch it. Sure. We'll watch it. I sent it to Jason last night. It's in our DMs.
Surrounded with them. So. Okay. They would go every night. It was interesting. So, yeah, I was the secretary of the head of the... there's like a... I don't know the terms in English from the army.
Right. He was an officer.
So there was I was in Dukhifat, which is like a brigade, I guess, that's in charge of the area of Ramallah. And that brigade has like a main officer. So I was his secretary.
Okay, so you were right below the big boy. Cool.
So it was nice. It was interesting. It was more demanding in a way, but also kind of more rewarding because you're put in this weird situation where you're like, you're away from your house. You have this new group of people that you have to get along with. And it's hard to explain, but for some reason it was more interesting. I enjoyed it more.
You told me once you went on like a mission with them to like a terrorist city.
Yeah.
That was kind of a crazy story.
Yeah, my officers and like
to a terrorist city.
The soldiers in that brigade, they would go every night on a raid in Ramallah to arrest terrorists. And so I always saw them preparing for it and leaving, and then I would stay in the base. So one time I wanted to go with them just to experience it.
One time I wanted to go with them.
Where all of a sudden had an urge to go with them?
I just wanted to see what it's like.
Right.
I wanted to see it.
Okay.
So they took me with them one night, even though they weren't supposed to.
Did they armor your ass up?
You're driving in this like Jeep that's bulletproof.
Right.
So I was in the Jeep, and then as soon as we entered Ramallah, the people in the city started shooting us.
Wow.
And I heard like a bullet hit the Jeep like right next to my head.
Did it like dent or just
no, you just hear it?
It's a gnarly armored Jeep. Okay.
And I mean, it was just interesting.
They were so someone actually was shooting the car when you went in there right away.
Yeah.
Huh. Did you have a gun on you?
I didn't.
You were not supposed to leave.
No, yeah, not really. But even if I walked with them to one house.
Okay.
I did get out of the car once, but surrounded with them. So.
Okay. Did they arrest anyone that night?
They did.
Did they bring it in the same car with you?
No.
Oh, different car.
There's a few cars going.
Damn, that's crazy. Was it like? How did you feel? Was it horrifying?
It was strange. Very, very weird.
How so?
I don't know. Just you see people in the house, and then it's like.
What are you saying? When Snowfit, can you explain to me when I painted her as a female Rambo? Can you explain to me when I did that, you fucking retard? Or are you arguing with some complete caricature that you've built up of someone on Reddit that said something mean, who drew a funny cartoon of her shooting kids? Have you just built that up in your head and you're arguing with that because you're an emotional fucking retard who can't see what someone's saying and you instead project onto it something that someone else has said previously? Because I said she willingly went on a raid of our house in Ramallah and you started saying she was conscripted, for fuck's sake, that's not fair. That's what you started saying. But what I said is actually entirely accurate to what we're watching right here, isn't it?
The soldiers just walk into the house and look through their shit and find guns, and the whole thing is really surreal.
Oh, wow, it was exactly what I said it was. Wow, the exact story I said happened actually did happen. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? That's happened 2 nights in a row now. How someone's tried to say that's not what happened, but that is exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. She willingly went on a raid of a house in Ramallah. H3 Clips is a bad empanada channel, though.
From Jews.
There is a very large contingent there.
Yeah.
So you see this line going down.
So it is happening.
Of course it is.
Nobody wanted to talk about this. You know this. After the election,
Yes.
a lot of Jewish organizations
Yes.
kept saying, no, the numbers have remained the same.
We did the Willie Mack Content Cop last night, Damien. So unfortunately, you've missed that. But good news for you. You can go back and watch it.
Same in terms of Jews
It's
voting
not true.
Democrats.
It's not
They were
true.
lying to
Of
us.
course.
So you've
it's just
seen
not true.
that.
Of course I have. I've seen, with my job, I see internal polling data,
Yeah.
which is not always made public. Yeah, the truth is, if Trump had not been on the ballot, like, you would have seen even higher defection rates.
I agree.
So,
Right.
So, you know, this is a crisis.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the fundamental thing, right? Is like, it's not even like it's the worst fucking thing in the world. Like, obviously, she didn't fucking shoot anyone. She didn't kill kids. She didn't fucking, like, obviously, it's not the worst fucking thing in the world. But with the distance from this, she should be able to look back and go, okay, this was the context of this raid. What's happening there probably isn't good. This is probably like, you know, this takes place in quite a strange context where it does paint the action a certain way. I should probably look back on that and say, yeah, I'm not really proud of that. I don't think what the soldiers were doing there was good. You know, it's just going into, you know, that's going into Palestinian territory and raiding people's homes. Of course they were shooting at us. That should be you know, with distance, and maybe speak out against conscription, against mandatory service, against the IDF. But no, it's like there's this weird emotional defensive of it.
Crisis for a party, it's got to be addressed.
Is there a leader that comes up? I mean, can we just talk a second about Josh Shapiro? How his house was firebombed
It's terrifying.
on Seder night, on Passover?
Because of this disinformation.
Yeah.
Because raw, evil anti-Semitism.
Of course.
It's always disinformation, isn't it?
Yeah, no
This
one
is
ever
just
said
some
anything about
random
Rambo.
Crazy person
So
that's
is
hearing
he
their story.
somebody
You have a
that
mental disability,
could bring out
unfortunately.
the
Sorry.
Democratic
What about
Party?
Richie Torres?
I love it. Richie Torres, to me, is what the Democrats should be.
Of course. But where's the institutional support for either of them?
Yeah.
You know, I got a lot of heat for saying this. I believe, personally, the reason Shapiro was not our vice presidential nominee in this election
For sure.
was Kamala was scared.
Well, I think that
Was
how his house was firebombed
It's terrifying.
on Seder night. On
Got
What is this?
I agree.
So,
Right.
So, you know, this is a crisis for a party. It's got to be addressed.
Is there a leader that comes up? I mean, can we just talk a second about Josh Shapiro? How his house was firebombed
It's terrifying.
on Seder night, on Passover?
Because of this disinformation.
Yeah.
Because raw, evil anti-Semitism.
Of course.
It's always disinformation, isn't it?
But this is just some random crazy person
So
that's
is
hearing
he
their story.
somebody that could bring out the Democratic
What about
Party?
Richie Torres?
I love it. Richie Torres, to me, is what the Democrats should be.
Of course. But where's the institutional support for either of them?
Yeah.
You know, I got a lot of heat for saying this. I believe, personally, the reason Shapiro was not our vice presidential nominee in this election
For sure.
was Kamala was scared.
Well, I think that they didn't want a woman of color and a Jew.
I agree.
They wanted like a white guy
I
to
agree.
balance out the woman of color. That could have been
agree.
it. But I do think there was something in Josh Shapiro's background that they didn't like.
I agree.
And I think actually they lost Pennsylvania because they didn't put
I
him on the
agree.
ballot.
Of course. I agree with that.
Of course.
I think younger energy is what the Democratic Party needed more than anything. We put another old white guy
Exactly.
on the ticket.
Which always happens, isn't it?
Yes.
Seems to be the story of my life, my political life. But, you know, before we wrap up the discussion, you, Brianna, run for Congress.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So, yeah, it's something I wish more people would do. You understand this. There's a really big difference in believing your politics and getting off the computer and going out there.
Yeah.
I don't know how many hands you've shaken.
Oh, my God.
Like tens of thousands.
And babies you've kissed.
Well, you may not kiss the babies, but it really is so
Nah, Brianna be kissing babies.
helpful for breaking down and making you understand, like, your conception of politics is not necessarily what people are thinking about.
100%. And just talking to real people
Yes.
who have real problems.
Yes.
And hearing them.
Yeah.
And listening to them, which I think actually...
Brianna doesn't kiss the babies because she starts whenever Brownie goes to kiss a baby on the forehead, she starts getting an urge to just like devour, like the Saturn devouring his son painting. She gets an urge to start like.
Women have a real. I think women have
She can't
more
get
of an
too
affinity
close.
for that, for listening.
She has a taste for it.
Rather than just telling people what they should believe.
Yes.
And I'm a big advocate for more women in leadership positions, more women in politics. And we were talking earlier that women always also give themselves up for a higher cause, like we saw with Elise Stefanik recently, who, gave up her nomination to be the UN ambassador because the party needed her because there was a slim majority in the House. And the woman is just so classy, but she's the example to me of a woman saying, greater good, and that's what I'm for. And what we find a lot is partisan lines that have nothing to do with policy or good decision making.
That's right. Just one thing on that. Something I've noticed since October 7th is been such, for me as a Democratic operative, the number of productive relationships I've made in the Republican Party with people that I can talk about Israel policy, and that's an off-ramp to talk about national security and other issues. It is an excellent test, because if a Republican is smart enough to understand that Israel matters, I can have a logical, fact-based policy discussion with them about all this stuff that's in the middle, not necessarily right or left. I really think this is the future for our country coming together.
I pray we have a lot of internal divisions here in Israel as well.
Yeah.
We really do. And I always say it's the harder road to find consensus and unity, but it's the correct way.
That's right.
And we need that too, believe me. We need that too.
Desperately.
Honestly, ladies, I could talk all day about so many things, but we have to move on to our very favorite and very popular segment, Scumbag of the Week. Yes, we do not hold our punches here because there are so many scumbags every single week. And so we give them, this spotlight today, and we give awards at the end of the year.
We do.
So Rachel, let's start with you. Who is your scumbag of the week?
I'm going to toss to Shoshana to go first because mine will go.
Oh, are you connected?
Yes,
all right.
a little bit connected.
We schemed ahead of time.
All right, Shoshana, who's your scumbag of the week?
Well, I would like to say that I grew up in the days of the original Lollapalooza.
Yes.
See, think about what it's
for Europeans.
Oh, so sorry. It is a music festival.
Yes.
The music festival where Nirvana and I don't even remember who I saw. I saw so many bands. Like back when.
Pearl Jam.
Very old.
Wow.
Stone Temple Pilots, like the best bands ever, where they traveled the country and we stayed there for hours and we were on the fields. Like it wasn't like Woodstock, but it was Lollapalooza was the best and people came from all over and it was a real festival and everyone enjoyed. And I don't know what's going on with you guys this generation, but this Coachella, what the hell? What happened to music? What happened to just enjoying yourself? What happened to just dancing and enjoying? Because now everything's...
No way. No way. Now everything's political. Dude. Oh my God, I can't take it anymore. Everything's political now. Stop thinking, stop talking, stop thinking. Stop thinking, stop talking. Everything's political now. Can't we just stop things being political? Stop thinking, dude.
It's political, and I will just what the hell? What happened to music? What happened to just enjoying yourself? What happened to just dancing and enjoying? Because now everything's political, and I will just say kneecap, you Irish, redacted.
Huh?
What the hell?
What's with the Irish hate? Huh?
You're playing music, and then you have F Israel, Free Palestine, so that everyone who's out there has to hear your scumbaggery words? So that
you Irish monkey.
Everyone out there has to either walk away from the festival that they paid money to get to, or sit there and hear your propaganda. You are not musicians. You are scumbags. This is not what a music festival is for. It is for enjoying. It is for peace. It is for coming together. And if you had said Israel-Palestine with some sort of, handshake or heart, I'd be okay with that. But F Israel, F you.
Wow.
I'm mad.
You're on fire.
I'm really mad.
What's wrong with saying fuck Israel? Seriously, what is it? Please explain to me what's wrong with saying fuck Israel. It's like the most nothing ever.
Yes.
You should be mad.
If I would pay money to go to a concert and I had that crap on the...
I mean, that's why we don't go to, what's his name, that Roger Waters idiot anymore. My friends went to
still
Berlin
alive,
to
that guy?
to a concert. They were huge Pink Floyd fans years ago, before we knew he was really wacko
Nuts,
crazy.
yeah.
And he had on the screen like pictures of dollar signs, Israeli
Okay.
flag and pigs.
Yes, yes, yes.
And they were in Berlin, like, surrounded by Germans with pictures of Jews.
Yes.
It's
Horrible.
It's bad.
It's just unacceptable, and especially after what happened at Nova.
Exactly.
To take a festival like that.
Yes, and mentioned, by the way, they mentioned, you're going to talk about Coachella, but they mentioned the victims of music festivals that had been killed. They didn't mention Nova.
I know.
All right, Rachel.
Rachel.
And
Going to
yeah,
you.
Served.
So, all right, I caught it. First thing I've caught in my life. But my scumbag this week is the entirety of Coachella. And I want to go back to Eli Wiesel and what he said, that the opposite of love is not hate, it is indifference. There are so many people who could have stood up and said something or stopped it in the offing before it got to that stage. There is someone working AV who could have pulled that plug. There is somebody working lights who could have shut them off. There is somebody who could have done something instead of everybody standing there and continuing to dance and cheer. Nobody along the line, nobody during any sound or light test said a word.
Said fuck Israel. Stop crying. What's the... I don't want to use the word, but there's a lot of... You know what I'm thinking. You know what I'm thinking. They're seething, they're coping, they're pissing, they're shitting, they're...
Word. Nobody during the making of the lineup said anything. Yeah. That indifference is what is going to be the downfall of America. And if Nova had happened at Coachella, where there is an annual attendance of or a daily attendance of 125,000, that would have equaled 13,000 people slaughtered. Wow. The 364 people who were massacred at Nova, including my student, Roni Polvonov, 23 years old of Ramle. They might have been there dancing alongside you if they hadn't been slaughtered by terrorists who you don't have a thought about, but you will stand there and keep dancing and keep enjoying your freedom with Israel free.
Oh yeah, they did shut it down and then they got Hassan to stream it. True.
And you know what? I am so grateful that each and every one of you returned home safely and are able to hug your families again, because I would never, ever wish what happened to the people at Nova on anyone else. But shame on you, you scumbags.
What does that have to do with it saying fuck Israel, free Palestine? Why are you hand-wringing about the fucking music festival? It says fuck Israel, free Palestine. It's a statement on the conflict, on the state of affairs as a whole. Not about October 7th, you fucking retard. This is a thing they do, isn't it? I shouldn't say they, really. But you know what I mean. Pro-Israel people. It's just like October 7th, October 7th. Yet no one's saying about October 7th. That's not relevant. It's about the situation as a whole. It's about the overall dynamic. They're saying, fuck Israel, free Palestine. Yes, there can be an act of, insane death and destruction that is, an act against civilians. Yes, that can happen. And then the overall analysis can still be, yeah, you shouldn't have this country, like, well, not even country, this, like, group of people occupied and then subject them to insane bombing over the course of, like, 2 years, past the point of any reasonable military objectives.
For not caring about the 364 people who are angels now instead of dancing at a peace festival with you. You should have said something.
Oh, Rachel.
Okay, I've got no idea which direction you're leaning when you say, to be fair, it was a trance music festival, but I don't want to know, to be honest.
Oh, it's true. It's really It's really true, and I like that you say somebody could have pulled a plug, somebody could have done something, because I feel like
somebody on the way in the supply chain
have done, or who, you know what? Turn your back.
Yeah.
Turn your back. Tell people around you to turn their backs. Do something. I agree with you. Do something is really important.
But this is the problem, is there's the culture, and this will tie into my choice, but the culture has changed for young people, where there's so much social pressure to be anti-Israel and get through that anti-Jew. I just saw a poll that came out in the United States a few days ago showing that 50% of Jewish students feel the need to hide their Jewish identity on campus. Now, not to get too political here, but this is in the climate where every single non-binary person needs to be celebrated all the time.
Yes.
Fat positivity, you've got to accept that.
true, actually.
You've got to accept every religion. Trans people, women, got to accept everyone, but Jews.
Not Jews.
Oh, that's too far. That's some crazy talk.
And to even bring it up is too controversial.
Right.
There are legislative bodies who are shying away from addressing anti-Semitism because, well, the war in Israel is just too... It has nothing to do with the war. Nobody's asking you for your geopolitical expertise. And besides, you don't have to have any. This is about your Jewish neighbors, but...
In the United States, we don't need people to solve the crisis in the Middle East. We just need you to tell your damn Jewish neighbors that they matter to you. And that's it.
And we don't need to hear that you will hide us in your attics. We're never hiding again. We need you to stand with us. And when you see anti-Semitism on the right or on the left, say something. Call it out. Do something. Turn your back on it.
Agreed. Absolutely. Agreed.
Absolutely. Can I say this? I don't want to get emotional, but what I see with the Jews I talk to in the United States is it's like they've poured their hearts into this country. And they love America. They've tried so hard.
Dude, what is going on? Wait, why is she crying? Wait. What is happening?
And that's it.
And we don't need to hear that you will hide us in your attics. We're never hiding again. We need you to stand with us. And when you see anti-Semitism on the right or on the left, say something. Call it out. Do something. Turn your back on it.
Agreed. Absolutely. Agreed.
Absolutely. Can I say this? I don't want to get emotional, but what I see with the Jews I talk to in the United States is it's like...
Bravo, Wu! Bravo!
It's like they've poured their hearts into this country. And they love America. They've tried so hard to participate, and they're standing there and just asking their country to love them back. And it just seems like people in America are completely oblivious to this. It's an open wound.
But I think it's almost too much, Brianna. I think that a lot of Jews want a lot of validation, or they need this validation. And I'm getting to the point where it's like, I don't need anybody to validate my existence. But I understand for the Jews have poured their energy to other social justice causes, how they feel so betrayed. But it's
I love Jews so much, and they've got it so hard in America. Jews are just so awesome, and it's just so difficult being a Jew in America.
It's like enough of wanting to be loved. I think it's a weakness of ours, by the way.
I agree and I disagree with you. So I agree you need to, what I've seen with a lot of Jewish people is a belief that if you can just explain the history well enough,
God, I love Israel.
Intellectual thing. That's not how you meet people.
No, I love Israel.
So I agree with you. You've got to be more confident there. What I've seen is a lot of Jewish people getting so drawn into their community post October 7th and being afraid to trust people. And I know this is selfish for me to say and ask, but I think most non-Jews like myself, I don't think we bear you animosity. I think we're just ignorant. I think we don't know the history. We don't know what you're going through.
I agree. I think most people are ignorant. They're in the middle.
100%.
And it's like you said earlier about the Democratic Party, it's the extremists making the noise.
That's right.
And making it seem like there's more people.
And making it politically impossible to stand with Jews, which is their mission. So I understand it's asking for bravery, but, don't just withdraw.
So we've got... I don't think this entire time I've heard a single one of them say, like, and obviously Benjamin Netanyahu's government is disgusting. Obviously the erosion of checks and balances in Israel is despicable, and it should be retained as a free democracy. I haven't heard any of them say that all reasonable military objectives have been achieved in Gaza and the IDF has no business there at this point, aside from starting a rebuilding project. I've not heard anything even slightly along those lines.
Into yourselves.
It's very hard, though. Like, you have people like Candace Owens, and you have people like, what those idiots, Ian Carroll or Jake Shields. They're spreading so much and so many conspiracy theories. Like, it's impossible to keep up. Like, Jews just feel like, okay, how am I going? Like, I do appreciate what you're saying about educate. But right now, the educational boards, they don't want to hear from us.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the infiltration.
That's what I'm saying.
That's part of the infiltration.
Right, Hamas have taken over all the American education institutions.
Okay. Brianna.
Yes.
Very important moment. Who's your scumbag of the week?
My scumbag of the week is Hassan Piker. Love you, Hassan. This is Cenk Uyghur's nephew.
Dude, they're trying to make me a Hassan fan. They're trying to make me side with Hassan. Everyone's in a conspiracy to make me side with Hassan. They're trying to brainwash me. They're trying to rape me. Brianna Wu's Scumbag of the Week award. Can you think of a higher honor? Can you think of a higher honor bestowed?
By the way, which is always awkward when I go after him. But Hassan is a garbage human being who's gone after my interracial marriage. He's gone after my interracial marriage.
Brianna saying, why the fuck is she called Wu when she's not Chinese? He's not going after your interracial marriage. You're Chinese.
Basically said on stream that I took my husband's last name so I could pretend to be Asian. And to get clout in progressive.
Let's go!
Like I married my husband because I loved him. I know it's hard to understand.
Oh my God.
So you're talking about Coachella.
But who is he?
Hassan is, when you're thinking about this Gen Z problem of these, the Islamist political project being synonymous with young people and this takeover, he is the biggest Twitch streamer in the entire world. He goes out there for tons of hours a day and does nothing but spread disinformation about this and fringe anti-American talking points. He said disgusting things, basically being in favor of the terrorist attacks on 9/11. Oh, gosh. He works with people like Frogan, who said they are thrilled when
Hassan has said some truly disgusting things, guys. Let's look at some of the disgusting things Hassan has said at various points.
Soft power is the exact same as hard power. Soft power, embassies, diplomacy, exact same thing as military bases. I can't do this. I can't do this. Guy has the understanding of foreign policy of like a 12-year-old. What the fuck? What the fuck is wrong with this dude? Didn't he go to war and like literally lose his eye because some mujahideen, a brave fucking soldier, fucked his eye hole with their dick? Isn't that how he lost his fucking dumbass eye? Because he got his fucking eye hole fucked?
Holy fuck.
By a brave soldier? Didn't he learn that there's a difference between like military bases and diplomacy?
Okay.
And fringe anti-American talking points. He said disgusting things, basically being in favor of the terrorist attacks on 9/11. Oh, gosh. He works with people like Frogan, who said they are thrilled when Israeli soldiers
seething about Frogan on Israeli TV, a 200 viewer streamer. She is a smaller, not smaller in size, but smaller in mass, but smaller in size. A smaller streamer than I am. Frogan. She is. I don't think she's. I think I've been big enough for a long time. Where's her Twitch right now? Literally, I'm totally irrelevant. I don't say this to suck myself off. I'm a fucking nobody. Last 90 days, she's 158 average viewers. Last 30 days, 155. She's fucking nobody. And you're seething on Israeli TV.
Get PTSD and American soldiers get PTSD. And he's on stage with Coachella. So he's this,
part of that problem.
Yes, he's part of this problem because he's out there making anti-Semitism look sexy. to these young kids, and they just don't have another view. So Hassan, you are an absolute scumbag. Nothing you say is true. The level of fact-checking you are willing to do before you do your show is so shockingly bad. You don't do on-the-ground journalism. You're just a piece of garbage. And, Coachella...
Wow, she totally popped... Brianna Wu totally popped off on the 5,500 view Israeli TV upload. What? She totally popped Owen Hassan while he's on stage at Coachella.
So much better than you.
And I have to say, anybody who has seen a picture of your husband understands exactly why you married him. He brings me so much joy and all.
He's an adorable guy.
Yes.
Why did he
smile through the screen?
I don't understand.
Because
you're contradicting him with facts?
It's this progressive mindset.
Right.
If you have an Asian last name, why would you have taken that? There's got to be some identity politic thing behind
Maybe
it.
we should ask Whoopi Goldberg why she has a Jewish second
There
name.
we go.
There you
Yes.
go. Yes. All right, so my scumbag of the week is a guy called Mossem Badawi, right? He is the latest of the pro-Hamas student activists who've been arrested and put in some prison in Vermont, right? I mean, he's there somewhere. But the point is that this guy is a 34-year-old undergraduate who has been in college for 17 years.
Brianna? Hello? Wait, no way she's going to say this with Brianna sitting next to her. No way she says this with Brianna Wu sitting next to her. Do I need to pull my video up? I agree. We should deport students who take too long to graduate. I agree, actually. We should throw people in jail. We should throw people in fucking prison for taking too long to graduate. I agree, actually, as a matter of fact. I totally agree about that. Where is this?
Journalism for a few years.
Reflect the truth.
And I'm going to become...
11, we make seeming to have a degree. Seemingly as early as... Okay, so let's start off with education. Wu lied about this for years. As early as 2009, she was making IGN forum posts claiming to have a degree, seemingly to boost the credibility of her opinion on basically any topic, whether this was psychology or copyright law. Then in 2011, Wu makes a post seemingly claiming to have a double major in journalism and political science. This claim evolves over the years until she tells the Boston Globe that she's a graduate and says on a podcast that she's an investigative journalist.
But I'm going to go finish my college degree and I'm going to become a journalist. And I did. I did investigative journalism for a few years. And then, This was even on her Wikipedia at one point, but it's since been corrected to better reflect the truth. A truth that only came out during a public spat with ex-homosexual pro-pedophile journalist Milo Yiannopoulos, who ran a background check on her. And when he released the results, we all found out that Wu had been completely lying about her degree in investigative journalism, political science, dates of attendance, 96 to 2006. Whatever else she was claiming. Now, you may be thinking, it can't get much more...
And still never got it. Put in some prison in Vermont.
She fucked around. Yeah, we even spoke about this in the debate. She fucked around in college, dropping out of class and blames her fucking addiction and all this shit. She just fucked around doing nothing for ages.
Right.
Took a bunch of different classes and never actually got the degree.
He's there somewhere. Mossem Badawi, right? He is the latest of the pro-Hamas student activists who've been arrested and put in some prison in Vermont, right? I mean, he's there somewhere. But the point is that this guy is a 34-year-old undergraduate who has been in college for 17 years and still never got a degree. So either he's really dumb or he's in fact a plant of the Islamists trying to get him to do what he's been doing for 17 years, and that is sowing the seeds of pro-Islamist hatred in college campuses. He's been on many college campuses.
Listen, look. Maybe there's evidence for this.
17 years. He could have gotten 4 PhDs by now, but no. He still doesn't have an undergraduate because he's a professional agitator, anti-Semite who fabricated an entire background of his brother dying and his mother dying in Palestine, in Judea and Samaria, which never happened. And how do we know it never happened? Because one of the friends of the show, David Collier, who has become a little bit of a Cluedo in discovering anti-Semites, David Collier is the researcher who discovered that the BBC documentary about this little boy in Gaza was all a lie, and the little boy in Gaza was the son of a Hamas minister.
Wow.
And the BBC had paid the family. Huge controversy.
Wow.
But David doesn't rest on his laurels, and he tried to figure out who this guy Mossem was, who's been arrested, and of course all of the progressive politicians in America standing behind him, don't deport him, freedom of speech, about a guy who spent 17 years infiltrated into college campuses with a fake story about his very difficult background in Palestine under Israeli oppression. All of it are lies. His uncles, his family are Palestinian Islamic Jihad terrorists. And this guy, for some reason, has been in America on a green card, fully funded as an undergraduate for 17 years, the perpetual student.
Wow.
So I want to say he's a huge scumbag, but the people protecting him and the people who are keeping him there, some of them your compatriots from Vermont, I'm afraid, the most progressive state in America, you guys are harboring a terrorist and a terrorist supporter and a terrorist spokesperson who nobody, including the immigration in America, bothered to do any due diligence about his story or about what he's doing as an undergraduate for 17 years. You've got to do better, people, because this is the downfall of your country, not ours. We're okay over here. We'll defend ourselves. You got a problem. Scumbag of the week, Mossem Badawi, if that's how you pronounce it. Okay.
Can I say something about that?
Yes.
So this is, I think it's a real failure of the Democratic Party that we've not taken, like...
Okay, look, this, I don't know. There's not good reporting on this. What is this? Where's this coming from? Brought up in Parliament. Okay, what they say in Parliament. So, Secretary for State, Culture, Media and Sport says, Jesus. I held discussions with the BBC Director General earlier this week at my request in order to seek urgent answers about the checks and due diligence that should have been carried out ahead of a screening of a recent documentary in Gaza about the commissioning, the payment, and use of license fee payers' money. I also sought cast-iron assurances that no money paid to fall into the hands of Hamas and that the utmost care was taken to ensure that was the case. I expect to be kept informed about the findings of the internal BBC investigation. I will update the House across all the issues. BBC may report BBC's operational. BBC investigation. Internal Gaza documentary. So, okay. It was narrated by the son of a senior Hamas official, apparently. Now, I don't know what that really means, because what is a Hamas official? Like, what type of official? Like, Hamas occupies a lot of, like, just institution. Like, it's all Hamas. Like, everything is Hamas in Gaza. I don't know what that means. Like, what is this guy's actual title? What does this actual guy, the son, actually do? It seems like I'm not seeing immediate identification of, like, actual bad reporting there. The main issue people are pointing out is that they changed the translation, changed mentions of Jews to mention to Israel and Israelis and shit like that. Which, I mean, yeah, that probably shouldn't happen in a BBC documentary, but that's like a very light massaging of the perception. If the factual grounds were good, I'm not like hugely. Since transmission, they have acknowledged that they knew that the boy's father was a deputy agriculture minister in the Hamas government. So his dad is a deputy agriculture minister in Gaza. And that's the... Okay. Okay. Right. Alright, man.
He is. You've got to do better, people, because this is the downfall of your country, not ours. Story. So, including the immigration in America, bother to do any due diligence. It's from Vermont, I'm afraid. The most people, for some reason, has been in America in 18 years, infiltrates, and who's trying to 18-year-old somewhere. And put in some pro-Hamas week is a guy called Mossem Badawi, right? He is the latest of the pro-Hamas student activists who've been arrested and put in some prison in Vermont, right? I mean, he's there somewhere. But the point is that this guy is a 34-year-old undergraduate who has been in college for 17 years and still never got a degree. So either he's really dumb or he's in fact a plant of the Islamists trying to get him to do what he's been doing for 17 years, and that is sowing the seeds of pro-Islamist hatred in college campuses. He's been on many college campuses, 17 years. He could have gotten 4 PhDs by now, but no, he still doesn't have an undergraduate because he's a professional agitator, anti-Semite who fabricated an entire background of his brother dying and his mother dying in Palestine, in Judea and Samaria, which never happened. And how do we know it never happened? Because one of the friends of the show, David Collier, who has become a little bit of a Cluedo in discovering anti-Semites, David Collier is the researcher who discovered that the BBC documentary about this little boy in Gaza was all a lie, and the little boy in Gaza was the son of a Hamas minister.
Wow.
And the BBC had paid the family. Huge controversy. Wow. But David doesn't rest on his laurels, and he tried to figure out who this guy Mossem was, who's been arrested, and of course all of the progressive politicians in America standing behind him, don't deport him, freedom of speech, about a guy who spent 17 years infiltrated into college campuses with a fake story about his very difficult background in Palestine under Israeli oppression. All of it are lies. His uncles, his family are Palestinian Islamic Jihad terrorists. And this guy, for some reason, has been in America on a green card, fully funded as an undergraduate for 17 years, the perpetual student. Wow. So I want to say he's a huge scumbag, but the people protecting him and the people who are keeping him there, some of them your compatriots from Vermont, I'm afraid, the most progressive state in America, you guys are harboring a terrorist and a terrorist supporter and a terrorist spokesperson who nobody, including the immigration in America, bothered to do any due diligence about his story or about what he's doing as an undergraduate for 17 years. You've got to do better, people, because this is the downfall of your country, not ours. We're okay over here.
Okay, so I'm saying, like, it sounds like some parts of his story that he's given in interviews doesn't quite add up. Like, he claims that he saw someone get shot, that it doesn't seem like there's good reporting to back up the idea that this guy got shot. I'm not seeing good evidence that he's a professional agitator that's backed by Hamas to lie in America. Wait, what? Wait. He was arrested at the appointment where he was meant to be taking a citizenship test. What? Dude. So you're not even allowed to go through the proper process anymore. Dude, what? Rubio's memo justifying the arrest cites the same authority used to detain Madawi's fellow Colombia protester and green card holder Mahmoud Khalil. In both cases, Rubio cited provision of the Immigration Nationality Act, INA, that allows him to deport any person who is not a citizen or national of the U.S. In Khalil's case, Rubio argued that Khalil's activism undermined the U.S. goal of combating anti-Semitism. The reason is currently being challenged in court, but the memo addressing Madawi's case, New York Times reports, is more specific. Madawi had engaged in threatening rhetoric and intimidation of pro-Israeli bystanders, saying his activism had undermined efforts to protect Jewish students from violence. Okay, well, what's the evidence for that? State Department declined to comment. Madawi's lawyers did not immediately respond to Guidance Crest comment. Going to court filing challenging Madawi's arrest. He was born and raised in a refugee camp at West Bank, where he lived until he moved to the US in 2014. He became a lawful resident of the United States in 2015. Expected to graduate Columbia in May and has been accepted into a master's program at the University School of International Public Affairs. Wait, so they're fucking freaking out about not graduating. He was actually about to graduate and had a master's program lined up. Dude, this is so obscene. And Brianna just eats it up after going on an impassioned rant about Hassan's disinformation every day. Hassan is the scumbag of the week because he gets on his stream and puts disinformation out there. And then you sit there for this. Someone spreading disinformation to excuse the absolute stripping away of your civil liberties in America. Of American civil liberties. Some foreigner stripping away your rights.
To figure out who this guy Mossem was, who's been arrested, and of course all of the progressive politicians in America.
Yeah, where's the 17 years of undergrad shit coming from?
Doesn't rest on his laurels. And he tried to figure out who this guy Mossem was, who's been arrested, and of course all of the progressive politicians in America standing behind him, don't deport him, freedom of speech, about a guy who spent 17 years infiltrated into college campuses with a fake story.
But but this has only been here since 2014. Wait, how long has he been here? Oh, here, sorry, I'm saying here. In America. Fucking hell, I'm not American, Jesus Christ. Been in America. They said he was only there since 2014. Sorry, I was reading, because I was reading it a minute ago. It tripped me up. Totally tripped me up. Is it just bullshit? They're just lying? Yeah, he would have been. Wait, he would have been. Wait, yeah, they say he's like 34. How old actually is he? He's 34. He's 34. It says 2014. It says 2014. I think, right? He moved to the US in 2014. Became a lawful resident of the US in 2015.
About his very difficult background in Palestine under Israeli oppression. All of it are lies. His uncles, his family are Palestinian Islamic Jihad terrorists. And this guy, for some reason, has been in America on a green card.
Yeah, permanent resident on a green card who was there to do his citizenship test with a master's program lined up, black bagged. Wow. Wow, cool.
Fully funded as an undergraduate for 17 years, the perpetual student. Wow. So I want to say he's a huge scumbag, but the people protecting him and the people who are keeping him there, some of them your compatriots from Vermont, I'm afraid, the most progressive state in America.
Citizenship inside, written on a pizza box with a big arrow pointing at the door to the detention center. Okay.
You guys are harboring a terrorist and a terrorist supporter and a terrorist spokesperson who nobody, including the immigration in America, bothered to do any due diligence about his story or about what he's doing as an undergraduate for 17 years. You've got to do better, people, because this is the downfall of your country, not ours. We're okay over here. We'll defend ourselves. You got a problem. Scumbag of the week. Mossem Madawi, if that's how you pronounce it. Okay.
Can I say something about that?
Yes.
So this is, I think it's a real failure of the Democratic Party.
No. 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 This is insane even for Brianna Wu. She's signing on to just taking away people's rights in America. No. The whole world's gone fucking crazy. It's so crazy. Dude.
Country, not ours. We're okay over here. We'll defend ourselves. You got a problem. Scumbag of the week. Mossem Madawi, if that's how you pronounce it. Okay.
Can I say something about that?
Yes.
So this is, I think it's a real failure of the Democratic Party that we've not taken, like, rooting out this hardcore Islamism in our immigration policy. The Democrats lost this last election, and Trump is in office on immigration. That's a large issue.
Yeah.
And most of it is what's happening on our southern border. But I think there's a fine line. Like, someone in the United States that is, like, we had one researcher that was just criticizing.
Dude, if they're not radical terrorist encampments, can you show me a single one with a single anti-Hamas sign? I went around one of these so-called civilian encampments, and when I asked them, do you condemn Hamas? None of them even replied to me. They just looked at me and started fucking blabbering in tongues. Just started clicking their fight.
Israel. I don't agree with her, but that is her First Amendment right.
Yeah.
I don't support people like her being deported, but there are bad actors that are here trying to turn our country against each other.
Absolutely.
And it is international security interest to take this seriously, to build a structure so they don't come to the United States in the first place. And the Republicans are winning support with Jews because they are able to see this danger and, in my view, over-respond, but they're not ignoring it, which is what the Democrats have done.
Brianna, Chuck Schumer said to Colombia, don't do
know.
anything about anti-Semitism. He's a Jew.
I know.
And he said, don't bother. It's only the Republicans who care. Come on. You've got the other guy in Columbia University. This guy
This is so
not just
disgusting,
talking
man.
about Israel.
This is
He's
so disgusting.
anti-American.
Yes.
This is what you have. Because it's
No, you are anti-American. This is anti-American.
What the Democrats have
Brianna,
done.
Chuck Schumer said to Colombia, don't do
know.
anything about anti-Semitism.
head
He's
down.
a Jew.
I know.
And he
It's
said,
insane.
don't bother. It's only the Republicans who care. Come on. You've got the other guy in Columbia University. This guy is not just talking about Israel.
Yes.
He's anti-American.
Yes.
This is what you have. Because it starts with the Jews, but it never finishes with the Jews.
That's right.
And this is why you have a problem.
17 years of college tuition, by
Yes.
the way.
Yeah.
Someone's funding that.
Somebody's
That's
funding
expensive.
him. He's got a slew of lawyers, as the other guy does,
Coming
as
for
the
you next,
other guy
Goy.
from Colombia. Whatever.
You have to kick out
you
the
know
terrorists.
what?
They're coming for
Thank
you
God
next, Goy.
somebody's waking up.
Yes.
They're doing something about it.
Yeah.
I'm all in favor. And all of those you Jews anti-deportation, keep your mouth shut. You're not helping. All right?
Yep.
Now, we'd like to end our show on positive vibes. And I know we've been talking positive vibes, so we always have heroes of the week. Mm-hmm. So, ladies, would you like to start this time? Rachel's hero of the week?
Sure, I'd be happy to. And my hero of the week is, I think, probably everyone's hero of the week in some way. Every week, it's Douglas Murray.
Oh my god. Oh my, I'm gonna be fucking sick. I'm gonna be sick, dude. I'm gonna fucking throw up. This is disgusting, dude. This is insane.
Yes. Just-
Round of applause.
Why is he hero this week?
Well, he's hero this week because for 3 hours, he exercised that brilliant Douglas Murray patience on Joe Rogan's podcast against Dave Smith, a stand-up comic who has somehow become an authority on the Middle East.
Yeah.
And absolutely eviscerated every single point that he made. But again, very calmly, no yelling, just the facts. And he brings up excellent points. Like, are we really waiting for an atrocity to happen to Jews in America? Because they keep bringing up, the people who oppose us keep bringing up the fact that nothing really bad is happening. Nothing is going to be that bad. It's not Nazi Germany. There's no gas chambers. Are we waiting for that? He brings that up so articulately. And in addition, I also just want to congratulate him because his book on democracies and death cults, which everybody should read.
No, you're right. We shouldn't wait for that. Instead, we should, you know what? America should just strip away fuck the First Amendment. Who needs that shit? Who needs protection? Who needs any rights, actually? Guys, are you really waiting for another Holocaust to start? Are you really willing to wait for another Holocaust to start? Why don't you just hand out, how about nothing to hide, nothing to fear? Walk into the police station, let them clone all of your electronic devices, hand your stuff over, let them clone all your electronic devices. Okay? How about we remove search warrants for homes? We just remove search warrants from the justice system entirely. Police can break down your door at any time. Because guys, we don't want to wait. Why would you wait? It's just like, this is terrible reasoning. It's just the stock reasoning for stripping away your rights.
Every single chart, and he will eventually surpass some of the most popular children's books and make it to #1. I believe that.
First of all, I applaud the choice, but I think what Douglas Murray has done in the last week is something that almost nobody dared to say until now. He's opened up the entire conversation on these people who are not experts.
That's right.
Talking as if they were, but at the same time using the fact that they're not experts as a defense to being criticized. And this is something, Joe Rogan is almost untouchable. You know, everybody says, oh, he had Trump on his show, he had Elon Musk on his show, and oh, he's amazing. Nobody said anything about Joe Rogan because he's just a regular guy bringing people on. But Douglas Murray called him out and has opened a conversation, because then he went on Bill Maher, which I saw yesterday. He opened a conversation about exactly this. Non-experts.
Never let Brianna Wu call Hassan anti-American ever again, by the way. Never allow that to happen, because she has actually gone on foreign television to cheerlead Americans' rights being taken away. What is more anti-American than that? I can't think of much that is more anti-American than that.
Pretending to be experts, and then when they get attacked, saying, well, I'm no expert. And just for that, he deserves it, because he's opened a conversation that needed to be opened.
Well, you know what the classic definition of chutzpah is, right?
What?
Chutzpah is the Yiddish term for, like, gall, right? For having a lot of gall.
Audacity.
Audacity. And the classic definition is a guy who murders his parents and then goes to the court and says, please have mercy, I'm an orphan. Right, which is exactly what these schmucks are doing.
Yes.
Well, they spew all this stuff, but
what do I know?
I don't really know.
Yep.
And he says, but you've been talking about this for a year and a half.
Yeah,
You
like
never
getting
went
rich
there.
off of it.
Now we're playing a game where we rate celebrities on a scale from invited to the Kabul Passover cookout or eats bugs out of empty aid containers.
Ever get it? Yes? Who the hell was this guy? Wasn't even a funny comedian. He made you look like a real idiot, Dave Smith, if you're watching.
Yeah.
But yes, Douglas is a hero. Thank you very much. Shoshana.
My hero of this week is someone I really love coming across on Twitter. He's called the Misfit Patriot. I've never heard of him except like when I scroll and I read
Always a good sign. Always a good sign. Someone with Patriot in the username. Oh, I've got a user here called NR Patriot 14. I can't even do it, man.
They're so funny. Like, I like a good, well-placed curse. Like, I feel like cursing is like, first of all, it keeps me from committing homicide. Second of all, it's just cathartic. I didn't realize
It's therapy.
you need it, okay?
Therapy.
So this guy is like, he's not Jewish, but he defends Jews, and he calls out idiots, which is my favorite part. So somebody just happened to pick one. Someone called Maze Love is all kvetchy, okay, whining about the fact that the U.S. Jewish population is 2%, while Christians make up 63%. Easter's a cornerstone of Christian tradition, but the White House decides to send its warmest wishes to those celebrating Passover and ignore Easter's significance for Americans. Next year, Happy Easter may be deemed...
Wait, dude, this is what they do in the UK with Ramadan. Wait. Wait, this one... Wait, I've seen this before.
Anti-Semitic. Who knows? Wake up, people, right? This is what this schmuck is tweeting. And so, Misfit Patriot, I'm going to quote this. Perspective does matter. There were 9 posts about Easter and 1 about Passover. And your retarded ass, got triggered. I'm just quoting. Thanks for the stats on Jews, though. It makes you effing people look even more silly that 2% of the U.S. population is somehow controlling everything. What a joke. He's just like, calls it out with like the most flat out. I'm just like, oh, that's what I need. Like, I don't need your intellectual
Sanity.
Just tell people the way it is.
Sanity.
Anyway, Mr. Patriot, thank you very much. You make my day. It's nice in the cesspool that is X now to see your voice. Thank you.
That's great.
Yeah.
I have to
I'm
follow
from
him.
Mississippi, so I appreciate
You appreciate that?
I appreciate it a lot.
I
Brother.
second follow Misfit Patriot.
Yes, absolutely. Brianna.
So my hero of the week is the antithesis of Hassan Piker. It is Ethan Klein. So if you're not familiar,
Oh,
Ethan
this was made to fucking drive me insane specifically, wasn't it? Oh, this was designed to drive me specifically fucking insane.
runs one of the most successful online media organizations in the United States. He's successful online media. Not familiar. Ethan.
Bro, who is that? Bro. they got Esteban Klein. No way they got Esteban Klein. they got Enrique Klein. They got Ethan Danger. Wait, he sent this guy to the streamies to accept an award. What? And they just picked the wrong picture. Kike, don't say that. That's a Spanish name, Kike, to be clear. That's a Spanish name.
Okay, I've made several videos like this over the past year and a half, so let's do another one. If you're...
I don't usually get emotional, but this is one of those rare times. This is Misfit Patriot. It's one of those rare times I'm very fucking emotional. I'm ready to go to war with my own party over this shit. It's time more people join me. If you're an enemy of Zionists, you're an enemy of mine. If you hate them, you hate me. I'll hate you right back. I don't give a fuck who you voted for.
Okay, I've made several videos like this over the past year and a half, so let's do another one. If you're anti-Zionist, you can go fuck yourself. Yeah, that's right. If you say, I'm not anti-Semitic, I'm not anti-Jew, I'm anti-Zionist, eat every dick until the end of time and then eat some more in hell. Because guess what? I'm a Zionist. I believe that the Jews have a right to live in peace in their ancestral homeland. And that's what Zionism is. So when you say I'm anti-Zionist, you say I'm anti-misfit. And if you're anti-misfit, get fucked. Yeah. I'm an American patriot and Christian Zionist, and yes, you can be both. Because I read the Bible, and I love my country. See, I'm not going to fucking sugarcoat this one bit. If we are friends, if we have mutuals, if we voted the same way, if you consider yourself on the same side, if you're MAGA, whatever, it doesn't fucking matter to me. You're a huge piece of shit, and you can get fucked. You see, I'm not down with espousing the ideals of Adolf Hitler. I'm sorry, I'm not. And if you don't think that that's what you're doing, you're fucking retarded, because yes, you are. 95% of fucking Jews are Zionists. If you hate 95% of anything, you hate that thing. There are 16 million fucking Jews out there, and let's say 800,000 of them agree with you. You might as well be saying, I'm not racist, I got a black friend. You're a fucking moron. Do you realize that the people that you are aligning with...
Yeah, epic 90% poll. It is just so fucking tiring.
You make excuses for the innocent Palestinians and the evil Zionists that are creating a fucking genocide, even though you guys don't ever fucking talk about another fucking genocide ever! You care more about the USS Liberty, a friendly fire incident in the fucking, 60-something fucking years ago? No, that's more important than the fucking Christians being slaughtered in the Congo by radical Islamic terrorists. Over 67,000 terrorist attacks under the fucking name of Islam in the past 50 years. And you guys think that the 2% of the fucking population is the problem. Again, you're fucking retarded. And if you hate me because I'm a Zionist, I'll hate you right back, motherfucker. This is the fucking hill I will die on. I will fight for them, and I will fight you for them, because nobody else will. They don't have anybody else. They got me, motherfucker, and I'm a fucking enemy you don't want.
Wow. The lion rapes a small dog when it barks. Okay.
Kevin Kline runs one of the most successful online media organizations in the United States. He's Jewish. You know, his wife served in the IDF when she was here. And he's just run this extremely successful YouTube podcasting operation for years. He's worked with some of the biggest people like Hassan Piker. So after October 7th, he was working with Hassan Piker, and they had a falling out, and he's been very, very consistent. He's been critical of your government, but at the same time, he has really drawn a line in the sand and talked about this anti-Semitism that is very open in the progressive movement and with Hassan.
Yeah, like anti-Semitic stuff, like open anti-Semitism like that sort of thing.
Today, as I was checking Twitter, he had, by these degenerates that have been targeting him for a while, they mailed 2 human skulls to his house. And as I understand it, the FBI is now looking into this. This is someone that have been targeting him for a while. They mailed 2 human skulls to his house.
Like, this is a sort of presentation I hate of this already. They mailed 2 human skulls to his house. No, someone ordered from a website 2 human skulls. For $2,200 total. They didn't get skulls and mail them to him. That makes it sound crazy. They ordered expensive skulls from the internet from a skull supplier, and it was mailed to his house.
And as I understand it, the FBI is now looking into this. This is someone that's been targeted, a Jew that's been targeted by this anti-Semitic project at the highest levels, and has gotten an insane amount of harassment. You can see videos of him just out there with his wife, 2 Jews, and people coming up to him on the street in his car, harassing him. He has shown nothing but integrity.
Amazing.
There was a video that came out just a couple of days ago by iDubbbz going after him, who's another streamer. Again, siding with this Hassan clique, because that's the popular thing to do. Integrity is in such short order in the United States in media, and Ethan Klein has shown this repeatedly. And I think it takes some guts. So, Ethan, you're my hero of the week.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Is it any surprise that Ethan, who is behaving exactly like Keffels, exactly like Wu in Gamergate, exactly like AntiIsrael, is it any surprise that Brianna has so much support for him? It's just crazy. So it really is just crazy. So disappointing seeing people like Nick go along with this shit when it is so blatantly the same victim bullshit playbook these scum have used for years. These fucking scum media figures that are desperate to just essentially enforce their own narcissism on everyone around them. If you're talking bad about them online, you have to be driven off. If there's a Reddit post that's speculating about something they put on the internet in a way they don't like, that whole Reddit has to go. Everyone around it has to go. It's so sickening seeing people sign on to the exact same playbook when they would have defended against it any other time. And it's all set against this backdrop where this is just like some of the most heinous, disgusting shit in the world, cheering on stripping away American rights.
I think I heard his name, but I don't think we were so aware of him here.
He's really big.
Oh, right. Ethan Klein, thank you very much. Maybe you could come on our show very soon. Okay, so my
I'd love to see Ethan go on here. I think it'd be a great move.
Heroes of the week may be very unlikely to a lot of people who seem to really hate them. But they did something brave last week. Harry and Meghan. Yes, Harry and Meghan, who the whole world seems to hate them every time she does a thing on Netflix. Oh, she's not really cooking. Oh, she doesn't really do that for herself. Oh, she's so not self-aware. You know what? I don't care about all that. All I care about is that last week they decided that their foundation that was supporting an organization called Muslim Women's Coalition from Milwaukee, and the head of this organization was basically maligning Israel constantly and saying we're an apartheid state. And they were getting like $30,000 from them, not a huge amount of money, but they decided to cut out that support.
Good.
And I think that for people who are constantly being attacked for trying to be woke or this or that, I think that's a pretty brave thing to do. And so love them or hate them, I think that this week we can really give them credit for really standing for some principles, drawing that line in the sand and saying, no, no, no.
Yeah, I do remember when Harry dressed as a Nazi officer with a swastika armband and everything. Yeah, I do remember that.
We're not going to fund anybody that berates Israel in this manner.
I remember seeing that on the front of papers as a kid.
As these people that were recipients of their money. Yep. So Harry and Meghan, sending a little bit of love your way. You're my heroes of the week.
Oh, very nice.
And ladies, it's been such a joy. Yes. Such an incredible discussion. Yeah. Brianna, you can come back anytime you want on the show.
So much fun.
I don't think this will be my only Israel show.
Oh, well, I hope that you come lots and that you always come back to visit us on the show and that you have a meaningful week. I'm sure you will.
We're doing a huge media project to kind of tell this story and to solve some of the...
Dude. Well, that was one of the most sickening pieces of media I've truly ever watched. We are completely fucked.